All right, we are live. Um, thanks for joining us today. 5 9 Podcast, the best podcast with people who actually work in the industry. With us today, very generous with his time, Mr. Harris Smith,
Hello.
set lighting technician, and thanks for joining us. And I really appreciate it. Uh,
Glad to do it, Robert. You're worth it, my man.
oh,
Thanks. Thanks for
thanks,
having me.
man. Appreciate it, man. So, now, what we were just saying a second ago, so we were talking about visions and how George Lucas, the Phantom Menace, uh, was achievable because he had the right tech. He waited uh, and then it came out. I personally thought it was uh, visually stunning. Like
I agree.
the when I first saw the teaser trailer, I saw Darth Maul and the battle droids, and I personally thought it was as a music video type thing where it's all visual. I thought it was cool. I really thought it was
I
cool.
as I was pretty young when I watched it, and I really do think that the music brought it together. I think that the technology that he was going for really like knocked it out of the park. I also believed, and this is just me pontificating. I don't know if it's right or wrong,
Okay.
but during the time when Phantom Menace came out, there was a surge of popularity for Star Wars. They re-released it. And when they re-released it, it packed out
Oh,
theaters.
oh,
My
right.
dad saw it. My dad saw it in the '70s, and then he's like, "Yo, let's go see the movie." I'm like, "All right, cool." So we went to see like the OG Star Wars, and it was just like, "Oh, this is cool." Now,
Yeah,
granted, that was also when he tried to spruce it up a bit. He had a little animal here,
the
little extra
dewbacks, the
like thing
special
there.
edition. I when I got to the Death Star trench, I seen it a million times before, but it really had me. Like that shows the movie really works.
Oh, totally, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%. I I I think it was people always say like what got you into the movies or like what inspired you to watch movies. And for me, what ultimately made me want to go to work in films was the passion that my dad had for the movies, but it
Hmm.
was the passion that I saw other people had for it, the reverence that we had for it. Like I was a church going person,
Hmm.
but like I didn't really like vibe with it. But when I went to a theater, that was a church experience. That was a spiritual awakening experience. And I I was also a part of like church productions, and like I
Oh
would help
wow.
out with various like technical sides of the church, like their audio and whatnot, and doing their lighting for that. So then when I found out I could do that in the film industry and actually participate in a an area that actually had an emotional response for me, I was like, this is perfect. I dig this. I've always loved watching movies, and I always love bringing people to movies that inspire me. And like, it took a long time to get into the business for me. I will say that as somebody who is from like South Orange County or from like Southern California, you see the movies. You just don't know it's possible to get into it. There's no like, oh, here's the roadmap. Just
Well,
take it. Follow, there you go. It's not like a doctor where you go a certain amount of years, residency, bingo, bango. Oh, you have a thing for feet? Why don't you be a foot doctor? That type of deal.
mm,
And so, like, I went to college 4 years for community at Point Loma Nazarene University. I went there for a media communications degree and didn't really know what to do with that. So then I went to a community college where they showed me the hands-on version of working in the industry, the hands-on, like, technical side of things. They let me break stuff. They let me like, figure out what I can do. They showed me what set life was like and set etiquette and like all the small details that you kind of have to figure out on your own. They were like, all right, cool. Here's a little like subtext for you. And then you go to work on Chapman, like Chapman University sets, because they know that the community college kids will work for dirt cheap. And then like, you kind of work your way up there. Um, I would have to say that my biggest thing about well, the biggest goal I had was to work on a massive production movie. I wanted to work on something that would have a legacy to it. Now, did I want to say that, I'm going to make that legacy? No, no, no. I did want to be a part of something bigger than myself. And so one way to do that was to join the union. The
mm.
union was where all the cool jobs were.
Right.
The union had like, you were working on Reno 911 when it came back. You were working on Mayans. You're working on Jimmy Kimmel Live show. Like you're working on these huge shows, and you're like, oh, but the only way to do that is if you got into the union. It's like, all right, cool. So I just got to get into the union. That was the most difficult fucking thing. Sorry, I shouldn't use bad language. My apologies.
Yeah, might anger Mark Zuckerberg.
Exactly. So the thing about it is I had a friend who I worked for over like 2 years, and I kept telling him because the hardest part is getting your foot in the door. The second hardest part is allowing yourself to be in the door without being sucked out of that door like some kind of like really bizarre sci-fi like air duct just scraping, just pulling your ass out really quickly.
Right.
So my foot in the door was this homie who worked on Mandalorian.
Oh
He was
wow.
the dude who told me about Baby Yoda, or as we know it affectionately as Grogu.
Right.
Thing was, he lied to me a little bit because he's like, Grogu's kind of an asshole. And then you watch the show and you're like, not really an asshole, but I feel like that's kind of their out. It's just like,
He's the best part
it's
of the
technician. You don't
show.
really, yeah, exactly. He doesn't want to hurt the show.
Right.
So I was like, I need to get in. I need days. And so he was the first guy to like, all right, gaffing the show. I don't want to do it. It's gonna be shitty, but I know it'll get my guys in. So I was like, great. So I worked on this really bad. Hulu was given a ton of money to make all these like horror movies with these terrible actors,
Yeah.
and so I got my first half of my days working on that.
Okay.
And then all the people that brought me onto that were like, I want to have a quality life, so I'm going to get the hell out of it. So then another friend of mine who was working on another Hulu horror series who was like, this guy is just desperate for people because this gaffer is difficult to work with. You deal with this gaffer and all of his like, BS, then you can achieve like get to union. It's like, all right, cool. So, you started from the bottom, had to learn myself. Thankfully, my homie was very patient with me and he kind of helped me out with that. His name is R.McTyre-Jr. Super, super hands-on, super understanding. He was the dude that said this will get overwhelming. He was also the guy that's like, listen, if you don't think while you're getting your union days, why am I doing this? Then you're not in it for the right reasons. If it doesn't suck, it's not worth fighting for. I'm like, all right, cool, I can get that. He also told me that taking breaks is not a bad thing. So I get my union days, and I'm like, where do I go from here? Because the mindset is that getting those union days, that's how every union set is going to be like. No, that's how every set that's allowing newcomers to come on because it is hard. They are difficult days. It's then when you go to work on the bigger stuff where they've had production who's been around for a while. They have actors that are like, I only work 8 hours and then I'm out. You start to see the good that comes with it. And I once I got in, all of a sudden, all these how you doing? All these really good jobs started coming in. All these really great opportunities, unforgettable moment working with amazing people, being able to work with you, being able to meet you, being able to go on big studio lots and work on big studio pictures. My biggest claim to fame, and still the biggest thing, fingers crossed something bigger happens, but you take what you can get, was working on Oppenheimer.
Ooh.
I had a friend of mine who got COVID. He needed a replacement. The town was hotter than blue lightning and then blue light. And I was like, what am I going to do? So he calls me up and he's like, oh, thank God you answered. Hey, can you cover me? I'm like, yeah, sure. What's it for? Oh, it's for Christopher Nolan's upcoming movie. It's like, what?
Yeah. Like what?
So I get on set
Right.
and it's like, this is well funded. This has everything. And one of my stories is that I was first thing I did on set was run power to a massive 360 RE light.
Oh
And
wow.
in the
Okay.
process, I bump into an actor. It's an accident, just trying to concentrate on what I'm trying to get. That actor was Matt Damon.
Oh.
Like, this is huge. And then because the Best Boy Electric did not want to call other people to kind of like bring in replacements, he's like, would you be okay with finishing off with us in town? Fine. All I had to do was be competent, talk to the gaffer, let him do the talking, add little things here and there. Just let him know I'm not a weirdo or crazy person.
Right. Right.
And then the BBE was like, all right, cool. You're gonna make my life easier. You seem nice and understandable. I'll let you stay on for the rest of the shoot. And I was able to participate in a film that got 2 Oscars.
Wow.
And so, like, in the friend group, in your colleagues, that's like, oh, that's huge. But to be honest with you, it was nice. But ever since then, and then the strike happened.
Oh, yeah.
That's when things went downhill. That's when things changed. That's when I had to dip into savings. That's when I work now for 5 companies. I'm a stagehand. I am a uh, storage facilitator. I'm a
Wow.
producer assistant.
Right.
I'm a transpo sometimes. I I set up rehearsal spaces for musical acts. I set up stages for musical acts. And I you just get in where you fit in. And there's this mindset that there's this exclusionary thing. Like you work on these huge things, you're like, all right, I'm a part of the club. It's like, eh, kind of a part of the club. You're not. You're a member of the club.
Yeah. Look, but
But when the rubber meets the road, it's a mixture of luck and a man once was myself said, people say in Hollywood it's all about who you know. No, 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 no. It's all about who knows you.
mm, it's the club within the club.
Yep. And you can reach out to those people, and they're very nice people, and they hook it up sometimes, but you can't rely.
Yeah.
So for the past 2 years, I've been doing a lot of commercial work.
Wow.
Not saying it's bad work. It's
Right.
kind of consistent, 3 or 4 days a week,
Right.
high paid. Sometimes the checks come in within a week or so. But I work like I work like a lot and sometimes, and then a little. Biggest thing I have coming for me right now is next month I'm working on a feature for like 25 days.
Oh, that's wow. That's
Not going to
cool.
be making a lot on it. Could be gaffing it. It could be fun,
Yeah.
but it's you. I love this business. I love the thrill of being on set, and I'm sorry if I haven't allowed you to talk very much.
No, no, no. It's cool. You just
I
dropping
appreciate
knowledge.
it.
Please keep going.
I'm very talkative, very loquacious, gregarious,
No,
and
it's
so I love this business. I love it's all hours of the day. I love the people I get to work with. I love to take what isn't there and enhance it. I always believe that as set lighting technicians, we are the paintbrush and the paint, and the grips are like the brushes and the canvas, and they like darken it and make things awesome. But I miss the camaraderie of it, but I also know that when the work is there, it's there, and when you want the work to come back, it won't always be there for you.
mm,
Back from what I understand, pre-strike, when we were coming back from COVID, people were trying to catch up, which was great because the town was super hot. But they were super hot because they had content to shoot. And I know some dudes in the union who they were able to retire. They were able to get out. They were able to get medical. They were able to find a way to make a career out of this business with a consistency and a luck that just kept flowing over. And that sometimes happens, sometimes that doesn't happen. And the biggest thing for me is to try to not think it is my fault,
mm.
because you reach out to other technicians, you reach out to other peeps, and they're in the same situation, and you think, oh man. And the hardest thing to do, and I recently had to get over this, is the jealousy of other people working.
Ooh.
Because you think
Wow.
I'm way better than that. Why the fuck are they working?
Yeah.
And then it gets interesting because then once you calm down, once you take the flush out of your face and you reach out to them, you're like, hey, so how's that job? In the back of your mind, you're like, I want to see if they got some extra work for me. They're like, they pay as shit and the conditions are awful. Then why don't you put us on social media? Everybody lies on social media. Everybody shows something that's better than it is. I'm like, you're right. We do lie a lot
Yeah.
because that's what we do in the business. We freshen up something that isn't there with whatever we got.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
so I guess to put it simply, um, I'm probably gonna have to do a career change. I'm probably gonna have to get out. As much as I
What?
love this and as much as I dig this and the people I've met and the experiences I've had, I just know that a there's I, I need the consistency. I'm no
Hmm.
longer that 20 something. I'm no longer that single guy anymore. I got responsibilities now. I got to up myself and I'm married.
Mm.
So I got to be I gotta
Congratulations, by the way.
thank thank you. And I think that's kind of a big change
Yeah.
is reevaluating your priorities, reevaluating your thoughts. I got to pick up my stepson in like 2 hours,
Oh yeah, yeah,
like
yeah, 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 yeah.
your whole mind changes, your whole like, so I always wonder this. My dad is the one who got me into the movies. My dad is the one who showed me the passion for films, and he never went into the movie industry. And I would be like, you would have been great in this. And he's like, yeah, I would have loved it, but it wouldn't have paid. I'm like, that's a good point. And I asked him, like, how did you, because he had the same job my whole life.
All right.
I was like, how the hell did you do that? He's like, well, I was in the right place and I had some luck. And I'm just like, I need to take that mentality and put it to something more consistent.
Wow.
And I've talked with dudes who gone out of the business and I've asked them, like, so what was it like? It's like, well, it's, it's a change, but over time you get used to it. Over time you understand and you like it. And I'm like, also, you kind of get a reputation at whatever work site that you're at that, oh, you start talking to that guy, he'll tell you some crazy stories about his last job. And that kind of makes you an asset. That kind of makes you important. That kind of is like, oh, this guy he's doing this, but he used to do this. And rather be the guy who used to than the guy who never did.
Hmm. That's deep. Heck yeah.
Um, anything else? I covered
Yeah,
ran
yeah,
out of
yeah.
stuff.
Listen, I know you gotta go, but so I just wanted to ask. So, do you have any advice for people who want to get into this crazy industry, who are, despite everything they just heard from you about how it is, and they're trying to get in? You got any advice for them?
Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna give you the advice not of my current station, but of my previous station,
Okay.
where I was before I got into the industry. And my advice is don't don't be willing to undervalue yourself, but also know that you're gonna have to do things that are not gonna be fun and not gonna be comfortable. You're gonna be outside of situations that are in the norm. So gotta be flexible. Gotta be like water. When a river when a body of water flows through and it sees a rock, it doesn't stop unless that rock's a dam or something. Even then, water goes around it. It flows around it. It moves. It becomes flexible. It's be like liquid. Um, I'd have to say have a very competent and very strong friend group. You need community. Community is so important. Community is going to be there to lift you up when you feel down. Community is going to be there when you need somebody to talk to, somebody to vent to. Um, be sure that when you get here, be where the action's at. You got to be where the action's at because if you're not where the action's at, then you won't be available to be where the action's at.
Mm.
Um, I'd have to say another one: details. Have those details down. Know your details. Know what needs to do what. Be helpful, but don't try to be in the way. Um, my biggest thing is listening. Listen and ask questions. I've worked with some huge, very very smart people, and the thing that they do the most is they ask questions, they clarify, they get exactly what the person needs. You are there to facilitate a vision of a vision of a vision. And to do so, you got to have clear and concise directions. And you can't assume and you can't, like, fill in the gaps. You got to get exactly what it is. Also, you got to be willing to talk. You got to be willing to network. You got to be willing to reach out. You got to be willing to, like, say hi to people. It's it's a very like conversational system. The guy for that you and I know, Mr. Chambers.
Yes.
I take one of his advices very personally, and that's the fact that let yourself be the guy that people be that want to be around for 12 hours. be that dude. Be that positive influence. Be like, have a good time. I had a friend of mine who he worked a lot. He didn't work. He was a day player. He moved around a lot. But whenever he was brought on set, people were always stoked. They're like, "Oh man, we really had a tough one, but I'm bringing on Gary. Oh, Gary's coming." I'm making up the name Gary.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
respect the dude too much, and he also retired.
Okay.
Oh, Gary's coming. Gary showed up. Hey guys, what's going on? I brought this and this. I'm gonna do that. Oh
Right.
my god, Gary's the best. But then Gary would get a call, and then he would go away like Mary Poppins. He was there for when you needed him, and he helped you when you were feeling lax. And then I found out I was that guy for a couple of shows.
Yeah, right, right, right.
So I'd have to say my best advice. Also, be coachable,
Mm.
and the biggest thing is attitude.
Hmm.
So
Yep.
many times, dudes just don't get back because like, oh, this guy wasn't cool, or this guy was very difficult to work with, or he complained a lot, or he didn't take directions well. So I'd have to say that's my biggest thing. Have a good, clear attitude. And yeah, there's going to be moments where things are going to be messed up, but when at your certain point, if you have the power to change it, change it. If you don't have the power to change it, just chill. Just chill. This is your station. You're there to perform a task, to assist, and to do more or to do less. You just got to suss it out.
Yep.
But that's I think that's my biggest thing when you're getting into the industry. Listen, adapt, and have a good attitude.
All right.
That would be my core three, if you will.
Well, thank you, Harris. You have been very generous with your time. Is there any social media or anything people can follow you on, or?
Sure. I have an Instagram.
Okay.
It's not a very clever Instagram. It's my name, Harris Smith in lowercase HARISSMITH 1525. I don't know why I chose those numbers. I want to keep it simple.
Oh, that's
So
easy.
yeah, that's me, Harris Smith at Harris Smith 1525. I appreciate you letting me gab at you,
No, no,
and
this is great. This is
thank
great.
you.
You dropped a lot of knowledge in 22 minutes and 20 seconds. This will be very useful to my listeners. So thank you very much, and have a great day. Thank you so
You too,
much.
Robert. You're the man. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. All right. Peace. See you in the future.
Peace. Looking forward to seeing you in the future, both on set and off.
All right. Peace.
Peace.